So I'm just waiting on the agenda loading that I have here. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this local partnership meeting on MS Teams. The usual etiquette. So if you want to speak to any items, I just ask that in the first instance that you try to use the raise hand feature. If that isn't working, please just raise your hand or unmute yourself to indicate that you're wanting to speak on an item. I will do my best to try and come around everyone and see where I can. If you're not speaking to an item, can I ask that you make sure that your mic is muted, please, because in particular with this meeting, it can just be a bit difficult to know what's going on. Thank you very much. So the items for business today, first and foremost, can I ask members if they are satisfied? Because obviously we have the funding round today in item 3, I want to take item 4 first, just so that we can finish up on the main business, and then that'll be us done. Are members happy with that? Right, that's agreed, thank you. So just moving on, any apologies? I think it was just Neil.
Yeah, Neil Barrington's the only one I've got.
Thank you very much.
Annabelle Armstrong Walter as well, Chair.
Yep, that's absolutely fine. Thank you very much. And can I ask if there's any declarations of interest in relation to the items presented? Councillor Mullen.
I would just say Erskine Community Council because of a long-standing connection with them, but it shouldn't interfere with anything, but just to let you know in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mullen. Jacqueline Dockery, you want to come in just now?
Yeah, just to say when it comes to the item from Langbank Swing Park Regeneration, Brighton, your street, I'm connected with that group.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, thanks, Kavita. Just a long-standing declaration with regards to I am a member of Inchinnan Development Trust, but I'm not a member of the board. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Leishman.
Thanks, Chair. Just like Sam, a connection to Erskine Community Council.
Okay, and any other ones in the room just now? Just making sure. No, not seen any. Just for myself, Paul, just to put a declaration of interest that I am the chairperson of the board for Erskine Arts. So any discussions that take place in relation to their application, I won't participate in. Okay. Oh, Jane's in as well. Evening, Jane.
Oh. Sorry, Michelle, I was trying to get my microphone off there. Yeah, sorry, I should probably say, obviously, I'm involved with Erskine Community Council and we've got applications in, so obviously I won't be involved in the vote or discussions on that.
That's perfect. Thanks very much for that, Jane. Okie dokes. Okay, so moving on to the items of business. Sorry, I'm trying to do most of this electronically, so my computer's just playing up a little bit. So item 1, the minute of the previous meeting. Is there any comments or questions, or can we agree the report? Agreed. Item 2 is the Erskine, Inchinnan, Bishopton and Langbank Local Partnership Budget Monitoring Report summary. And item 2, any comments or questions? Can we agree the report? Items agreed. So as previously agreed, I'm going to take item 4 first, and then we'll move on to item 3. Item 3. So item 4 is just to confirm that the date of the next meeting will be held on the 7th of September at 6 PM. Is everyone agreed? No disagreement, so that is agreed. Thank you very much. So moving on to the main item of business for today. Item 3, which is the obviously the main funding applications. So as you know, there are some people who may have not been involved in this process before, so if there's anything that needs to be clarified, I'm more than happy to as we go along. The way that I have always chaired the meeting is I tend to put a proposal forward that's a malleable piece of working is maybe the best way to describe it, just to give us a foundation, and then we can kind of try and come to some level of agreement, because I think that's the easiest and fairest way for us to do it. So it is very difficult because the funding pot is only £43,639, and we're significantly oversubscribed by almost double. which is it's really, really tough. So I have put together an algorithm that I've changed about 1 million times over to try and make it as fair as possible. I'm going to ask Stuart, the Word document that is titled EIBL version 2, that's a Word document. Can I ask for you to circulate that around the members, please?
Unfortunately, Councillor Campbell, can't do that at the moment. My internet is kind of packed up in the house, so I'm just on my phone at the moment, and I don't have access to the documents, unfortunately.
Jerry, do you have access to documents?
Hi, Councillor Campbell. Yeah, I'll just do that just now. Just give me a couple of seconds and I'll get it sent out to everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll speak to it while we're dealing with that side. Okay, don't worry, I will give time for members to read through it, but it's just to explain my rationale for what I've proposed for the group today. So any applications where it was a partial award, a partial fit to the priorities for us, I immediately discounted because they're only a partial fit to the priorities. Any that met the requirement, most of I'm looking for us to fund them, other than where there is running costs. It's to deal with just running costs in general, as we've had that discussion before. The agreement I'm looking for is that we look to fund pro rata for the majority of the applications. Where there are applications that are seeking more than £5,000, I'm going to ask that we put a restriction in of a maximum fund of £5,000 to be considered of each of those applications, because they would only be awarded a pro rata amount, because if we go ahead with the applications, or even if we were to add any of the rejected ones into that, we've still not got enough money to go around everyone. Any applications that are under £1,000, we would look to, as we've done before, give the full award for any that are under £1,000 if we were to agree them. Like, so this will make sense once you see the document. Okay, so that the main sort of 4 things that you'll see on there is that there's ones that are below £5,000. I'm asking for us to agree would receive a prorated amount of money. There will be a couple of applications where they are seeking more than £5,000. So I'm asking that we only consider £5,000 of that. And if we agree that we are funding those applications, those ones will receive a prorated amount as well. And those that are under £1,000, that if it is agreed that those ones would be funded, and then the refused applications, I have given reasons for that as well. You will see that on that as well. I'll bring in Councillor McLaren at this moment.
Thank you, Chair. Can you explain the partial, whatever you said? Priorities.
Of course. So remember, when we first set up the local partnerships, we met as a group and we set the priorities of what we agreed what should be the priorities for the area. So, for example, if an application, you'll see on the applications, they have like various boxes as to how do they meet the remit within this area. So it might be that it tackles social isolation, but it might be that the project's in Paisley. So that would meet a partial sort of remit, although it does tackle something that's a priority for our area. It's not within our geographical location, and if they don't express that they do any work in our outreach to the area, then that would mean it would be partial, or potentially even unmet if they don't do any work in the area at all. So that's what it means by partial, that it doesn't meet the priority fully of what we've agreed as a group is the priorities for our local partnership area, and where it meets it fully, it meets those requirements. It's in the geographical area, it meets some of those targets that we had set, so that's what meets as a qualifying, it meets the criteria for that. Okay.
So down the right hand side it says contribution to EIBL priorities. So if it's got one of those, that's okay, is it? Or how many does it need to have?
Well, it's the officers that decide if it's applicable or not. So I'll bring in Stuart at this point. Stuart, are you able to come in and explain about that setup?
Yes. So what happens, Councillor, is that as Councillor Campbell was saying, we've got the local priorities that were agreed, and we look to see in the application form, people are asked to indicate which of the local priorities that meets. So if they meet one or more of the local priorities of Erskine, Inchinnan, Bishopton Langbank local partnership, then they'd be eligible for an award.
Okay.
Okay, so I see at least one that has none in that column. So are you ruling that application out?
Which one's that? Sorry.
Well, I can see Lamont Farm project has none in that column. So
Yes, that one I have as a refusal. You'll see that I'm sending round. I don't know if have you received it yet? No, there's a document that you're going to receive, Councillor McLaren. That well, it has. I've put on it the FR numbers. I've put on which organisation. I've put the amount they're seeking as well to try and, because I know there's been when I've presented it before, people have been asking, oh, where's the FR number for that? So I've tried to make sure I've included as much detail as possible to make it an easy read and an easy seek out, if that makes any sense. So that's a good example. But yes, that's one where I would say that it doesn't meet the local priority fully, and that would be one that I put down to reject. So like I said, it's not about, it's just it doesn't meet the remit. We've hardly got any money, and we have some really, really good applications there. I'm also very aware of geographical spread across the partnership area. I think it's really important that every community, as much as possible, gets something from the local partnership. So that also formulates. So there might be things that people see and go, oh, well, that's a good thing. I'm not disputing that it might be a good thing. It's just in terms of the remit for local partnership funding, it's we have to make decisions, or else people will only get very, very significantly small amounts of money. Whereas obviously some of those projects we may want to prioritise more from that. Okay, so people should be receiving an email now from Paul, which should have the attachment. It might just take a couple of minutes for it to clear, which is normal. If you're on the council system, those that are at home on their own system, they might have issues with it. I'm just going to double check that it's definitely the right attachment.
it's the one without a subject title.
Yeah, I'm just double checking. Yes, that's the correct one that's been sent. So can I just double check, even if it's not loaded yet, has everyone received the email? No. Okay, so can those that have not received the email yet raise their hand, just so that I can tell? Right, okay, so Hayden, Paul, if you could just take note at the moment. Hayden Sutherland hasn't received it. Councillor McCulloch hasn't received it. Megan Kirk hasn't received it. Councillor Mullen hasn't received it at this moment in time. So I'm just going to go to where people are, it's easier. Jane Devine hasn't received it. John Kennedy hasn't received it. Alan McNiven hasn't received it. So I'm just going to give it a wee minute in case it's just filtering through the system. And if people could just keep your hand up until it arrives, and if you take your hand down if it doesn't. I know this isn't ideal. But unfortunately this is because it's an online meeting, members did opt for an online meeting because we did a wee poll. So it's just to make folk aware of that.
Sorry, put your hand up if you have received it. Is that what you're saying?
If you have not, if you've got it, take your hand down. If
Right.
you've got it, put your hand down, please. Paul, can I get you to check that the members that have their hands raised, that you've definitely sent the email to their accounts?
Yes, I have.
You have.
Sent it twice to some of them. Just sent another one there just now.
See, at 9 o'clock at night, you're going to end up getting about 20 emails.
I've not got it yet either, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Nicholson.
Sorry, who was that? Hasn't got it?
Councillor Nicholson's not got it either.
Right.
Down to 5, that's good. At least I know some people are getting it. Okay, down to 4.
According to the email I got, it's only been sent to 10 people.
Okay, well that can't be right.
That might have been the second one, Councillor.
Oh, okay.
David's got it. Okay, 3. Oh. See those that are still waiting, other than I know Councillor Mullins' email address, I don't require his one. But what I'm going to ask is I'm going to put my email address, my councillor email address in the chat box. Can I ask those that are still waiting to please email me? Just in case there's the wrong email address. I just want to eliminate all things, okay? Okay, so those that are still waiting, which I think I've got 3 hands up, so it'll be, other than Councillor Mullen, because I know that what his email is. But can I, all right, okay. Councillor Mullen, you should be receiving an email, and Jacqueline, you should also be receiving an email from Jerry Hannah with the attachment if you've not, so give it a minute. David, could you email me on the email address that I've put in the chat box, and I'll make sure I get a copy to you.
Jacqueline, is that you got yours now?
Sorry, Jacqueline, could you unmute just to
Yes.
confirm? Yeah,
Yeah,
there we go.
right. Yeah.
I think
I was
your
on the
first one might
email,
be
so I couldn't get
CHS.
that.
Thank
So,
you.
oh, is that where it had gone? Right. Okay, thank
thanks,
you. Right.
Thank you.
Michelle, I'm going to go and check my phone because I had a bit of bother with my laptop trying to
No
get
bother.
on. And
Sam will not
it's-
start without you. It's fine.
no, you're all
We'll
right.
do-
I'll catch up. I'll not be 2 minutes, right? Cheers.
I know that's fine on you.
David, have you still not got yours?
Yes, still not got.
Jerry's put a message in the chat for you there, David. Could you just check that that's the right email address that they've got for you?
It's the right email address, davidwoodrow@btinternet.com.
Okay.
David, I've just forwarded on my copy onto you as well, just to see if that makes any difference.
Okay, thanks.
It's going to be like a Hogwarts letter for you, David. You're going to get 21 million of them all at once in your email box.
The last email I received was at 5:53.
I know this is going to sound daft, David, but have you closed it and reopened it to see if that does anything?
Yeah, I will.
Maybe close your video, give yourself some more bandwidth.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Councillor Pal. Councillor Mullen, have you got yours?
Sorry, no, I have not. But I'll be honest, I had a major problem trying to get in. I don't know. There's some coming up on the computer saying check some, but I've done that. I just don't know. But I'm getting emails to my phone.
Have you got it on the phone?
No. But I get an email at 17:35, one at 16:37, and one at 16:33. So I'm getting them. I just don't know what's going on. Look, I'll take your word for it. Just carry on, right?
I'll speak through. Are you happy for me just to verbalise through them? I'll wait until David comes back. But if you need me to clarify through them, I'll just read verbatim what I've got there. I can get a screen share put on as well.
Councillor, I could try putting it on the chat if that would help.
No, that's
yeah,
fine, Michelle. Just go. I'll just go. But you're not going to. We're not going to do any bad on this. It's all right.
No. I'll get the document to you.
I've tried actually rebooting this about 2 or 3 times prior to going on the meeting, and nothing's. For some reason, sometimes it's freezing up. I don't know. I'll need to take it in and see what's going on with it. But just carry on. I'll just keep until it. Okay, thank you.
What I'll do is I'll wait until David comes back in,
since it's now 24, can I make a proposal that the next meeting be in person rather than online?
Well, the problem is, David, is that we did that, and the majority of members voted to have it online for this meeting. I did say that, you know, with it being the funding meeting, so that, but I agree with you. I agree with you on that, but this was the decision that was made for this meeting, so I had to go with the majority of members.
With that, that's by the by.
Yeah, well, that's my viewpoint as well. But you know, like I said, I have to respect the will of the democracy of the group that way. So, but like I said, what we will do is, if you choose to get it or not, Paul, could you share the document in the chat and see if that allows for people to access it?
I've just put it on. I've just put it on, Davina.
Okay, that's perfect. So he has shared the narrative, so it might be a little bit difficult for you to read, but I will go through it verbatim just to make it clear. So myself and Neil Barrington at the pre-agenda spoke about this, and obviously, like I had expressed earlier on, I had a declaration of interest, so I have had no part in the decision as to where Erskine Arts application went in. I'm just going to make that clear before I speak through this, okay?
You'll be pleased to hear I've now got it on my phone.
Oh, yay, there we go, fabulous. Don't we love it when a plan comes together? Right, okay, so Sam's quite happy for me to go ahead. So David, are you happy for me to speak while you're reading, or do you want me to give you a couple of minutes?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you'll see in the first lot, the fund pro rata, these are ones that all met the requirement. That's the amounts that they're looking for in their applications. And then in the next section down is the ones where they were asking for more than £5,000. So that's FR 1078, FR 1081, FR 1105, FR 1146. So although the amounts I have put next to theirs is I've put how much they are looking for. What I'm asking is for all those applications is that we only consider £5,000 for them, but because we don't have enough money, they would get a prorated amount of what they're looking for their applications. And we have one application that is below £1,000, which is FR1052 Inchinnan Development Trust, which is £566. So rather than giving a pro-rated amount of £566, I thought that the group would be of the belief that they did before, that would receive the full amount that group is looking for. The applications for refusal, I'll just read through them because Councillor Mullen doesn't have a copy, just so that, just out of fairness, I think it's only right to do that. So the FR1125 is a breast feeding network, and that's on the grounds of it being for running costs. FR1127 Bishopton Week Group on the basis of running costs. FR1121, the Stroke and Disability Art Therapy, does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1139 Lament Farm does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1045 Ream does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1049 Sea Change Scotland does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1055 Renfrewshire Walking Network does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1061 Paisley Pirates does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1074 SAFA SAFA does not meet the local priorities fully. FR1100 Rainbow Turtle does not meet the local partnership priorities fully. FR1106 Pace Theatre does not meet the local priorities fully, and FR1113 Erskine Community Council, now they've got two applications in, so just to be clear, that's the one for the Christmas fair, that's running costs and would not meet that requirement as it has been for the other reasons that have been stated for the other groups. So I will bring in David first, followed by Councillor McLaren. David Woodrow, you've got a hand raised.
All right, that's a slightly historical hand.
Historical hand, okay.
I'm a wee bit surprised to see that the Bishopton Day group are being rejected on running costs. How do you put an application in if it's not with running costs involved? The running costs, some of the ones are like first aid facility and being objective about what they're doing. They've never applied before to local area committee. They are a group that's very, very small in number. They do a huge job on the day. Potentially 4,000 to 6,000 people will be on the ground that day, and they spread the thing over the whole week. It seems a wee bit churlish that running costs is why they can't, why it doesn't get recognised.
David, like I said, it's not that it's easy decisions that had to be made. In terms of this, we've had gala applications on before and we've rejected them, and it's out of fairness because other areas all have gala days, but they don't come to the local partnership for funding. It's not like it's a one-off because it's to get them up and going. This is, this is not the appropriate forum for funding.
This year it is because they had to disband at the end of last year. They had to regenerate it, and this is their first step, and it's considerably different this year from what it was in the past.
And I don't think that that's been made particularly clear, but for me, it's setting a precedence for this local partnership, because what stops then any group saying, well, I want to pay for staging, I want to pay for first aid. it sets the premise of the tone for everyone to come knocking for those reasons. It's a very, very small pot of money. And there's other, like I said, I looked at it not just in silo of that one group. If I look at it in silo in that way that you're saying, I absolutely understand what you're saying. But there's other things to do with the locality that, you know, like the work that Bonnie Bishopton have been doing, that, you know, I'm sure that work is important for the locality as well. So I'm trying to be fair and reasonable when I'm looking at the applications. That's why that is the way it is. Okay, so like I said, this is a proposal being put forward to the group, but I'll bring in Councillor McLaren in at this moment in time.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm also on about Bishopton Week Group, I'm afraid. All these costs that are in the application, are they are they purchase or rent? Some of them obviously security for the gala day, I can understand, but I don't know if it's all renting, for instance, fencing for gala day. Is that just a rental cost? Would it be better if they'd actually purchased these things? I'm also looking, you talk about fair and reasonable, when Erskine looks as if it's going to get £17,500 to Bishopton's 5,000 for Bonnie Bishopton and nothing for Bishopton Week Group. If you'd like to be fair and reasonable, I think they should get something. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, just to make the point, for example, the Erskine Over 50 Swim Club, I've met with them before. They don't, the pool is based in Erskine. I can't help that the pool is based in Erskine, but the outreach is there for the whole locality. So that's what I mean in that respect. So I have no, the thing is I have no qualms with if you want to put a proposal forward of a consideration of if it's a certain amount or if it's that you want the whole thing put in to be considered pro rata. I don't feel it, like I said, that setting a precedence is the concern I have, because you can imagine all the groups that then would come looking for that type of funding. I don't think it's appropriate to the remit of the priorities of what we have spoken about previously and the amount of money that we have and the types of things that this is looking to achieve with this. I'll bring in Councillor Mullen at the moment. Okay.
No, it was just, I mean, it's like everybody else. We've been through COVID. We're all trying to do things. We're trying to, like Erskine Community Council, to be honest, speaking regarding the lights for the shopping centre. I mean, that was a one-off thing, and once it's up, they're there in place. So we're all trying our best to do our bit for our community, but I understand it's a small pie, and we're all looking for bigger chunks of it. But you know, it's COVID put a lot of fundraising things away on the back burner, so it's trying to regenerate some kind of things into our community that's long-standing. In other words, we're not going to apply every year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would just make my comments on that.
Sorry, Michelle, can I come in on that as well?
Is that Jane?
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up, but my computer's playing up a wee bit. So as sort of Sam said, this would be a one-off spend in terms of...
You can't speak to your own application, Jane, because you're involved with the Erskine Community Council. Sorry to cut over you, but it's just because there's other members who are involved in groups and they don't get to speak in relation to it or why it's a one-off spend or otherwise. So it's just, I have to be very clear, sorry. It's only to make it fair for everyone, all right? So Sam has made his point.
Okay, can I ask for my own clarification as well, Michelle? When you talk about running costs of the sort of fetes or the galas, what do you mean by that? Is it that they're...
It's the request of the type of items. So I'm sure that there's councillors that have been here long enough that know that when you have events, there are costs attached to them. Local partnerships are not there to sub in for those sort of costs. They're for these, for any group that's looking to potentially do something that may offer potential for something then to expand. That is something that in this meeting that we've always strived for, to make sure that we can, that's the sort of ideas and themes of things that we're funding. So that is why, like I said, it's not that I don't think that they're not worthy of funding. It's just that we have a very small pot of money and I'm having to just be really, really firm about what I'm putting forward to the group for consideration.
No, that makes sense, Michelle. Just I think I'll be asked, it was just for going back to the community council.
Yeah,
just for my understanding. Thank you.
so like I said, it's not that I don't think that things aren't worthy of it. It's just that there are those aspects. Sorry, there are other people who have not spoken that I'm just going to go to first, and then I'll come back round to anyone else that's want to come back in. If you're, can I ask if there's any repeat hands? Can you put your hands down, please, just so that I'm aware? Jacqueline, you want to come in at this point?
I guess it was just something just in general, maybe when we're considering it. I think I remember, I mean, I think we kind of decided last year any kind of fireworks things, just because it's so controversial, we just wouldn't go there. But I believe the year before, did we not, we also rejected Erskine's because they were charging for the event. So maybe
That's
that would be a
correct.
consideration if events are going to be charged for. You know, are we covering running costs for events that then there's going to be a fee charged for? And that was the only thing, just based on a previous decision that we've made.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar. That's actually, thank you for reminding me of that. That's exactly right. That, you know, that was around an event. And when we previously had, because we had the money there to be able to do it, we said, well, you can have the money, but any profit they make on the day, we get the money back. So that so that in essence, they were just getting a loan as such from the partnership, and the money was coming straight back to us. So it's for consistency, it's the same reason why those are in that reason for refusal. I'm going to bring in Councillor McCulloch.
Thanks, Michelle. I do take the wider point about Bishopton Day in terms of running costs, and Jacqueline articulated it well there. But I think when you break down some of the costs, like the hire of the band, that's the hire of a service, and we have funded things in the past for that, for local groups accessing a service. So I think we can maybe look at that individual items of this particular request and say, well, a band's £800. I think we could probably fund that. We've funded things like that before.
Yeah.
I take the point of the stage hire. We won't fund that, and we haven't funded that for other events. So it might be helpful in this instance. We're out of time to ask them to come back, but maybe there's things in that list we can fund, within the pro rata arrangement you've suggested.
Okay, that's a good suggestion, Councillor McCulloch. What I'm doing is I'm just scrolling right now through to their application. If you just give me a moment, folks. I know Councillor Leishman's got his hand up, so do you want to speak while I'm scrolling?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going on. I just wanted to raise a separate application, just one over that I have some lingering doubts over, that I'm hoping maybe someone can satisfy me on. It's FR 1052, essentially Inchinnan Development Trust for the Inchinnan Dogs Off Lead and Fouling Awareness Campaign. I more or less just have 3 points over this. Fouling awareness, absolutely have no problem with it. It's obnoxious, and it's a civil offence, and there's a penalty. But I'm just wondering, can Renfrewshire Council or even Inchinnan Development Trust actually put up signage instructing people to have their dogs on a lead, unless there's a bylaw? And unless my understanding of the legislation is outdated, there's no legal requirement to have a dog on a lead unless it is menacing. The second point that I have is that in the explanation for this application, it does say that dangerous incidents have been witnessed, by people. I think the word dangerous is a bit vague. Was this threatening? Was it aggressive violence? Or what was it? Was it disruptive to traffic? I'm not entirely sure. And also the fact that it's witnessed kind of makes it sound more like anecdotal evidence. Have any of these incidents been reported to the police? Can the police back up an increase in violent or aggressive behaviour with dogs? And the third point I want to make is, I am aware that officers at Renfrewshire Council are right now constructing a broader strategy to tackle dog fouling across Renfrewshire, something I'm very enthused about and interested about. I'm quite passionate about animal welfare. So I wonder if, I know it's a small amount, but every penny does count. As you say, we have a small pot, and I'm less concerned about the amount that they're asking for, more or less just what they're being asked for. I wonder if anyone can perhaps satisfy me on those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm still scrolling through this. I'm just going to bring in Councillor Nicholson at this point, followed by Hayden.
Thanks, Chair. It was on Councillor Millen's point, and Councillor McCulloch touched on it as well about the one-off. I think the point was made was about possibly looking at one-off support as opposed to like hiring of things, which is obviously part of the running cost, but if there's certain elements of it within that which you could support, I think that'd be a clear indication of providing some element of support, but being clear about the fact that it's not running costs per se, because every year I can imagine, and I know Sam and I know this, we're on the Flight Path Fund together, and it's always that sort of torturous way of a one-off capital spend is more likely to get support than constant running costs, because you would quickly drain out the entire fund within minutes if it was based on running costs. And also there's a question about sustainability for organisations if they have to come back every single year for running costs in that respect. So I think that's maybe a way forward on some of these applications, is looking at individual one-off costs involved with the event. It doesn't flag up or cause issues with the principle of running costs, because every year we get this coming up, and although we want to support everybody everywhere, we just can't do it. So as I say, it's Councillor McCullough picks up on it as well, and I say Councillor Mullen as well, but with regard to trying to sort of make sure that where we can support them, it's with very particular aspects of the event, as opposed to, you know, like the hiring of staging, to my mind, is quite clearly a running cost. You need to hire the stage every single year in that respect. But as I say, I think maybe a band or something, that could be something that could be possible looked at as support. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Hayden, do you want to come in at this time?
Yeah, it's probably doing this to death, but I mean, Bishopton Week Group have been quite clear and broken down their stuff and the running costs in there. And I'll just state that there's some pretty big ticket other numbers in here with some far more generic costs in them, that far be it from me to suggest there may be running costs in there somewhere, but they've been less clear in their proposals. And I do think, you know, if we're giving the huge big ticket numbers out and then we're saying, quite frankly, for Bishopton Week Group, that we're saying no, then we might have to have far more scrutiny on those bigger ticket items where it's clear they have may not have been as detailed as we would have liked, and therefore we can't have as much scrutiny on them.
Yeah, I'm looking, if people, I'm just going to sort of pause with that because we're talking about the Bishopton application. Can I ask if everyone could go to that application just now and look at the breakdown of costs? Because one of the things that stands out quite glaringly, that there's quite a significant amount attached to stage for gala day and advertising. Now, I wish they'd kind of separated out the two. I know the stage would be the majority of what they're looking for with that. However, the advertising, I'm sure that the council could assist with advertising for that. So that might assist in some respects with that. Obviously, they've got like the wristbands, they've got the performance. So given that I am not a local member in that area, I'm going to pick a name because they made the suggestion. Councillor McCulloch, looking at the breakdown of costs, do you have a suggestion of the things that you think are reasonable to be put in? I know you've already mentioned the band, and I think that's fine. I agree with you on that. So is there anything else in there that you think that's reasonable that we should be adding in as an item?
The wristbands probably as well. Yep. I think we could pay for that. The band, I don't think you can pay for the security or the fencing or the staging. I'd be inclined to first aiders maybe, just because. Yeah. You know, I think that's
just the safety aspect of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. That's the three that I thought jumped off the page at me. Maybe other members have different views, but those were the ones I thought of.
Okay, right, so specific to this application, because that's what I'm talking about at the moment, can I ask if anyone else has anything else that they want to add on to what Councillor McCulloch has said, or do they think that that is fair to what he has expressed there?
Well, if I can come back in.
Yes, of course.
Bishopton Day, it lives by its sword. If it's raining, wet, it's a disaster. If it's good weather, they make a profit. Could we do the same as we did with fireworks in the past for Erskine, where if they make a surplus, that gets paid back. If they make a loss because the weather conditions are such, because the costs, if the weather conditions are bad, increase dramatically because of potential issues. They have got very strict constraints on how they use the field. The farmers market is migrating for the one day to that. So we're in a situation that none of the other ones that are being refused, I can see, are one-off day events within the community. And this is one that to encourage those who are putting a hell of a lot of work into it, I feel refusing is a very negative approach from the local partnership.
Okay, thank you, David. Councillor Mullen, followed by Councillor McLaren.
It's just that for the reference about what I was talking about Erskine, I mean, the one I'm talking about is the city centre application, because my understanding with the way it was explained to me, once the lights were in place, they were going to be left permanently and just turned on like at Christmas time. So that's what I mean. But the other one, the Christmas fair, I mean, I could work that with myself. You're going to hold that every year. So I don't know. I'm trying to work out what Jen was saying, but it's obviously she couldn't speak, but I'll speak to her later on. But I'm just making reference to that one particular thing, because that for me, it kind of, the last lights went up in Erskine Community Council was involved in that, I can assure you that. But this is a town centre that's got nothing in the middle of it. It's just shops. So it's to try and brighten it up, and I can get what they're saying, but that's what I'm referring to as a one-off. That'd be one-off cost. And then after that, it would just be the insurance I would need to pay for it when it's there. Do you know what I mean? So if James can tell me something different, she can email me and I'll pick it up. And if I got it wrong, I apologise, but I don't think I did.
Yeah. Like I said, as obviously I'm a ward councillor myself, I'd love nothing more to give the money, like, because I remember the lights that they had before, because remember they had issues with the columns, the lighting and everything that had to be fixed as well. So I totally agree with what you're saying, but like I said, we've got a very limited pot. There are a lot of applications and it's about making it fair and reasonable for everyone in that respect. Councillor McLaren.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So looking at the fencing for Gala Day, I'm thinking when Renfrewshire Council organises an event in Paisley, do they hire the fencing, or is that something that the council owns? If it's something the council owns, maybe they could lend the Bishopton Day the fencing for the day. Anyone know about that?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll get officers to have a think about that. If you give a moment, I'll get somebody to come back on your question, okay? I'm just going to take someone else in the meantime, okay?
Well, one other thing,
Yep,
if I may. Just that you say we don't fund gala days, but I'm aware that other local partnerships have helped gala days, particularly Bridge of Weir has been helped in the past. So for the stage for the gala day, I would suggest you've highlighted advertising. So the gala day definitely needs a stage. So maybe half the amount that they're asking for there, in addition to what Colin suggested.
Okay, so
thank you.
Okay. I'll come to a summary point at some point on this, folks. Okay, I'm going to bring in Councillor Nicholson, followed by Councillor Airlie Nicholson.
Thanks. It was just on David's comments about, if I'm hearing correctly, and I'm happy to be corrected, he seems to be implying that we should insure gala days against the weather in that sense, because if that's the principle that is being taken seriously, it means every group who organise something outside are going to apply for the same kind of insurance policy with regards to if they make a profit, don't make a profit. And I understand his reference to the fireworks one, but that one particularly was about, as was pointed out earlier, was about charging a fee to get in. It was the reasons behind that one. But I just wanted to be clear about that, in the sense of we can't be held responsible, obviously, for the weather or to insure for it. We have to decide these applications on the basis of which we've got them in front of us, and we have to decide them, as was said at the start. We laid out, we agreed a set of priorities for local partnerships, and we have to sort of try and make decisions based on that. And the other point made about fencing, etc. It may be the case that if groups are going to hold events and plan to do it, it may be the case that groups should apply for buying fencing because it's cheap in the long run, or groups should coordinate with each other who hold gala days, who need tables, who need X, Y, and Z. That is something that could be looked at with regards to sustainability, about investing in future events. Because I think the issue we have here, and it's quite clearly been played out, is that it's the hiring of all this stuff every year is again, I'll use the word, it's quite unsustainable with regards to the finances we have. So we just need to sort of have, I think, a broader discussion with groups about how they fill in the application forms and what it is local partnerships will be looking for in the future, and possibly more guidance for them to ensure that they're applying for grants smarter, understanding what the local partnership will be looking for. And I think that might be helpful in going forward with regards to the groups understand what it is we'll be looking for. And as I say, capital spend is usually a good one, because there's a presumption once you've got it, you can use it for many years rather than hiring it for a one-off all the time. So I say it's just on those couple of points that I wanted to come in. I say I don't have any particular issues about some aspects of it, but on the point about paying for half the staging and stuff like that, that then completely flips again onto running costs, with regards whether you pay for 10% of it or whether you pay 100% for it. It's still part of the running costs, and it would just, you either stick by that principle or you don't, and then if you don't, then you're into having to fund everybody with regards to running costs. So I say I'll just make that point, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Early Nicholson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm supportive of Councillor McCullough's views in terms of what we should be able to fund. It's really helpful if we can help with something, I would say, rather than just knocking out the application altogether, because there are some aspects I think that wouldn't technically be running costs, and it's helpful if we can look at those. Also like the suggestion of the advertising to see if the council can help reduce some of the spend that's required. I was going to say exactly what Councillor Nicholson had said in terms of we get lots of applications through in these area partnerships in terms of looking for equipment that we have to pay everybody year on year to hire, and it gets more and more expensive. And maybe if we could have a look kind of broader overall of the partnerships to say how many of these happen in a year, is there a possibility that they could all put in a joint bid, and then we buy it once and then share it round, and then there's no cost to the people who are putting that up. So it just seems to me that paying £3,000 or whatever it is to a company to hire for a day, when we could actually be, you know, smarter working with each other to have it, and then we've got the one-off cost that's covered and everybody can use it. That's me, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Early Nicholson. Okay, so taking on board what everyone said, I'm talking specifically about the Bishopton application FR1127 for Bishopton Week Group. Okay, so just so you understand. So taking on board what everyone has said, I've done a wee calculation there on my phone while people were speaking. So my proposal for that application would be, rather than it being prorated, because we've been looking at aspects of it, do we agree that we would fund the band, the wristbands and the first aid, which would be a total cost of £1,972.40, plus we'll ask for there to be correspondence made directly, with myself included in that correspondence, and ward councillors, please, to the comms team to then support the group with their comms package to ensure that it gets the advertising that's required. But that would not be prorated from that amount. They would get that specific amount since we've looked at their application specifically. Does that sound like a reasonable middle point?
I'm happy with that, Chair. Yep.
Okay, that's fine. So that application is agreed. And in terms of the rest of the applications, as I have put them there, like I said, Neil has also looked over these. Are we in agreement with the rest of the applications? Councillor Leishman? Oh, yeah, you had questions about, oh, no, that's you, your hands down. Okay, I don't have anything contrary to that, so we're agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much, everyone. So everyone, you'll be glad to know that that concludes tonight's meeting. That is the funding sort of worked out, and obviously those that haven't been successful in the applications will obviously ensure that support is put out to those groups to see what other options may be available for them, because there may be other signposting opportunities for them. I think that's what Alan was about to come in, but I'll let Alan McNiven come in just now.
My apologies, councillor. It's exactly that. Just to say, remember, if people have been let down or people are looking for specific things in relation to some of the funding, they can always be pointed towards us and engage with the funding officer there. But just importantly as well to note, because I know that isolation is a significant issue for most of the local partnerships. We'll be receiving a further fund from Scottish Government for community mental health and wellbeing. That's been confirmed. The amounts haven't been, but they have been significant in the past. So around isolation and some of these other issues that come up for local partnerships, please point them towards us and we can obviously give them a steer on that fund. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll ask that the officers that are going to be doing that feedback, can we make sure that there's that consistent information put out to all the applicants that have not been successful, and likewise those that have been successful as well, because obviously it's prorated amounts that they're getting, they may be looking for other support. So can we make sure that that information is given out to all applicants for the potential for that opportunity, as well as any other concerns that they may have that we might need to direct them otherwise. And I think that's us. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time and for your comments and for, as always, managing this meeting well with a lot of dignity and respect attached to it. So thank you very much and have a good evening. All right.
Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you. Right.
Good night.